The sun rose over New York City just like any other day. People rushed to work, children went to school, and the streets buzzed with the usual noise. No one knew that by sunset, the world would never be the same again. Sarah Johnson, a 19-year-old college student, woke up late for her morning class. She quickly got dressed, grabbed her backpack, and ran out the door. As she hurried down the busy sidewalk, she didn't notice the strange looks on people's faces or the way they pointed at the sky. It wasn't until she reached the campus that Sarah finally looked up. Her mouth fell open in shock. There, hovering above the city's tallest buildings, was a massive spaceship. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before, sleek, silver, and silent. "What the hell?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. All around her, people had stopped in their tracks. Some were taking pictures with their phones, while others huddled together in frightened groups. The usual sounds of the city had faded away, replaced by a tense silence broken only by whispers and gasps. Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from her mom. "Are you seeing this? Come home now." Before Sarah could reply, a loud boom echoed across the sky. The alien ship had begun to move, slowly descending towards the city. Panic set in as people realized this was no joke or movie stunt. This was real. "Everyone, please remain calm," a police officer shouted through a megaphone. But his words were drowned out by screams as people started to run. Sarah stood frozen, unable to move. She watched as smaller ships emerged from the main vessel, zipping between buildings with incredible speed. One of them stopped right above her, its underside glowing with an eerie blue light. "Sarah, run!" someone yelled. It was her best friend, Mike, grabbing her arm and pulling her away. They ran through the chaos-filled streets, dodging cars and people. The city had turned into a war zone in minutes. Buildings crumbled as alien weapons fired, and the air filled with dust and smoke. Sarah and Mike ducked into a subway station, joining a crowd of scared people seeking shelter. They huddled together in the dim light, listening to the sounds of destruction above. "What do they want?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking. Mike shook his head. "I don't know, but it can't be good." Hours passed. People in the station tried to get news on their phones, but the networks were jammed. Rumors spread quickly, aliens attacking major cities worldwide, governments in chaos, military forces overwhelmed. As night fell, an eerie quiet settled over the city. Sarah and Mike decided to risk leaving the subway to find their families. They emerged onto streets that looked like they belonged in a disaster movie. Overturned cars, broken glass, and debris were everywhere. They walked carefully, staying alert for any sign of the aliens, but the invaders seemed to have disappeared as quickly as they had come. Suddenly, a bright light shone down on them. Sarah looked up to see one of the smaller alien ships hovering directly overhead. Fear gripped her heart as a beam of light enveloped her. "Sarah!" Mike screamed, reaching for her, but it was too late. In a flash, Sarah vanished, taken aboard the alien craft. The ship zoomed away, leaving Mike alone on the destroyed street. Miles away, in a secret underground bunker, world leaders gathered in emergency session. They had just received news that would change the course of human history forever. "Ladies and gentlemen," the U.S. president said gravely, "an American citizen has been abducted by the alien invaders. Her name is Sarah Johnson." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This was no longer just an attack. It was personal. As dawn broke on a new day, humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. The murder of Sarah Johnson would become the spark that ignited Earth's fiercest response, and the activation of a fleet that had been hidden for centuries, waiting for this very moment. The world held its breath as news of Sarah Johnson's abduction spread. For 3 days, people everywhere waited, hoping for some sign of the young woman or some explanation from the aliens. But the skies remained silent, and Sarah did not return. On the 4th day, everything changed. It started in a small town called Millbrook. Not far from where Sarah had disappeared, the alien ship appeared without warning, descending from the clouds like a giant metal beast. Its shadow fell over the town, turning day into night. Tom Baker, the town's sheriff, was the first to see it. He was driving his patrol car when the ship blocked out the sun. Tom slammed on the brakes, his coffee spilling across the dashboard. "Holy cow," he muttered, reaching for his radio. "Dispatch, are you seeing this?" But before he could get an answer, a beam of intense light shot down from the ship. It hit the town hall, vaporizing the building in seconds. Tom watched in horror as more beams followed, destroying homes, shops, and schools. People ran screaming through the streets as their town burned around them. Tom tried to help, guiding as many as he could to safety. But for every person he saved, he saw others disappear in flashes of alien light. Miles away, in the secret underground bunker, world leaders watched the attack unfold on their screens. They had been arguing for days about how to respond to the alien threat. But now, faced with such destruction, they fell silent. "We can't let this continue," the British Prime Minister said, breaking the silence. "We must fight back." The U.S. President nodded grimly. "Agreed. But how? Our best weapons barely scratched their ships." That's when General Maria Rodriguez stepped forward. She was a tough, no-nonsense woman who had risen through the ranks of the military. Now she carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. "There is a way," she said, "but you're not going to like it." Back in Millbrook, the alien attack continued. Tom Baker had gathered a group of survivors in the high school gym. They huddled together, listening to the sounds of their town being destroyed. Among them was Lisa, Sarah Johnson's mother. She had come to Millbrook searching for clues about her daughter's disappearance. Now she found herself in the middle of a war. "Why are they doing this?" she asked Tom, her voice shaking. "What do they want?" Tom shook his head. "I don't know, ma'am. But we're going to get through this. Help will come." Just then, the gym doors burst open. A group of soldiers rushed in, led by a woman in a colonel's uniform. "I'm Colonel Jane Harper," she announced. "We're here to evacuate you. Please follow my men in an orderly fashion." As the survivors were led to waiting helicopters, Colonel Harper pulled Tom aside. "Sheriff, we need your help," she said. "We're looking for any alien technology left behind. Anything at all could be crucial." Tom nodded, determined to do whatever he could to fight back. In the bunker, General Rodriguez had finished explaining her plan to the world leaders. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. "An ancient fleet?" the Chinese president asked, breaking the silence. "Hidden on Earth all this time?" General Rodriguez nodded. "Yes, sir. Built by our ancestors and kept secret for generations. It's more advanced than anything we have now, possibly even more advanced than the alien tech." "Why haven't we used it before?" someone asked. The general's face grew grim. "Because activating it requires a great sacrifice, a human life." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. The U.S. president raised his hand for silence. "Are you saying we need to kill someone to start this fleet?" "Not just anyone," General Rodriguez replied. "It needs to be someone pure of heart, someone innocent. The fleet's creators built in this safeguard to ensure it would only be used as a last resort." The leaders looked at each other, the weight of the decision heavy on their shoulders. Suddenly, a young Abe burst into the room. "Mr. President," he gasped, "we've just received a transmission. It's from the aliens." On the main screen, an image appeared. It showed Sarah Johnson, alive but clearly terrified. Behind her stood a tall alien figure. The alien spoke, its voice oddly melodious. "People of Earth," it said, "your time has come to an end." As the leaders watched in horror, the alien raised a weapon. Sarah's eyes widened in fear. The screen went black. The screen in the bunker flickered back to life. The alien's face filled the display, its large, dark eyes staring directly at the world leaders. "You have witnessed the fate of Sarah Johnson," the alien said, its voice unnaturally calm. "This is but a taste of what awaits your species." The transmission cut off, leaving the room in stunned silence. The U.S. president slumped in his chair, his face pale with shock and anger. "They killed her," he whispered. "They murdered that poor girl in cold blood." General Rodriguez stepped forward, her jaw clenched tight. "Sir, we need to act now. The ancient fleet—" "Do it," the president interrupted, his voice now firm with resolve. "Whatever it takes, activate that fleet. We're at war." As the bunker burst into action, news of Sarah's death spread across the globe like wildfire. Reporters, who had been camped outside the alien ships for days, broadcast the tragic news to every corner of the earth. In New York City, Mike, Sarah's best friend, watched the news with tears streaming down his face. He remembered the last time he saw her, reaching out as she vanished into the alien ship. Now, she was gone forever. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he whispered. "I'm so sorry I couldn't save you." But as the initial shock wore off, something else began to stir in the hearts of people worldwide. Anger. Pure, unbridled fury at the aliens who had taken an innocent life. In London, thousands gathered in Trafalgar Square, holding candles and pictures of Sarah. What started as a vigil soon turned into a rally, with speakers calling for action against the alien invaders. "We will not go quietly into the night," one speaker shouted, her voice echoing across the square. "We will fight for Sarah, for Earth, for humanity." Similar scenes played out in cities across the globe. From Tokyo to Rio de Janeiro, from Sydney to Cairo, people came together, united in their grief and determination. Meanwhile, in Millbrook, Sheriff Tom Baker and Colonel Harper continued their search for alien technology. They combed through the ruins of the town, looking for anything that might give Earth an advantage. "Over here," Tom called out, pointing at a strange, metallic object half buried in the rubble of what used to be the town hall. Colonel Harper rushed over, her eyes widening as she saw the device. It was about the size of a basketball, covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly. "This is it," she breathed. "This could be the break we've been looking for." As they carefully extracted the device, Tom's radio crackled to life. It was Lisa, Sarah's mother. "Tom," her voice was thick with emotion. "Have you heard about Sarah?" Tom closed his eyes, his heart heavy. "Yeah, Lisa, I heard. I'm so sorry." There was a moment of silence before Lisa spoke again, her voice now filled with determination. "They need to pay for what they've done, Tom. Promise me you'll make them pay." "I promise, Lisa," Tom replied, looking at the alien device. "We're going to fight back with everything we've got." Back in the secret bunker, General Rodriguez led a team of scientists and military personnel deep underground. They passed through layer after layer of security, each more stringent than the last. Finally, they'd reached a massive steel door. General Rodriguez placed her hand on a scanner, and the door slowly opened with a hiss. Inside was a sight that took their breath away. A vast cavern stretched out before them, filled with sleek, silver ships unlike anything they had ever seen. This was the ancient fleet, Earth's secret weapon. "My God," one of the scientists whispered. "It's real. It's all real." General Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Yes, it's real. And now we need to wake it up." She turned to face her team, her eyes blazing with determination. "What happened to Sarah Johnson is a tragedy, but we're going to make sure her death wasn't in vain. We're going to use this fleet to take the fight to the aliens, to show them that humanity will not go down without a fight." As her words echoed through the cavern, the ships seemed to pulse with energy, as if responding to humanity's call to arms. Across the world, people looked to the sky with a mix of fear and defiance. The aliens had made a grave mistake. They had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity was ready for war. The world watched with bated breath as leaders from every nation gathered for an emergency United Nations session. The main hall was packed, with tension thick in the air. Everyone knew that this meeting would change the course of human history. The U.S. President stood at the podium, his face grave. "My fellow citizens of Earth," he began, his voice echoing through the hall and across global broadcasts. "Today, we face the greatest threat in human history. But today, we also unveil our greatest hope." A murmur ran through the crowd as holographic displays flickered to life, showing images of the ancient fleet. "For centuries, a secret has been kept by every nation on this planet," the president continued. "A fleet of advanced ships, built by our ancestors, hidden away for a time of utmost need. That time has come." In Millbrook, Tom and Colonel Harper watched the broadcast on a dusty TV in the ruins of a diner. Lisa, Sarah's mother, sat with them, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Is this real?" Lisa whispered. "We've had this all along." Colonel Harper nodded. "It's real. And it's our best chance at avenging Sarah and saving our world." Back at the UN, the president's speech took a somber turn. "However, activating this fleet comes at a great cost. The ancient technology requires a sacrifice." The hall fell silent as the implications sank in. In homes and public spaces around the world, people held their breath, waiting to hear what this sacrifice would be. "A life," the president said, his voice heavy. "A pure soul, willingly given to power the fleet and protect our world." Gasps and cries of shock echoed through the hall. On the streets, people turned to each other in disbelief and horror. In the underground cavern housing the fleet, General Rodriguez stood before a group of volunteers. These brave men and women had stepped forward, willing to give their lives to save humanity. "I won't lie to you," Rodriguez said, her voice firm. "What we're asking is the ultimate sacrifice, but know that your bravery will save billions." Among the volunteers was Mike, Sarah's best friend. His face was set with determination. "For Sarah," he whispered to himself. "For everyone." As the selection process began, scientists worked feverishly to understand the alien device found in Millbrook. Dr. Emily Chen, a brilliant physicist, had made a breakthrough. "It's some kind of communication device," she explained to Colonel Harper. "But it's not just for talking. I think it can interface directly with their ships." Harper's eyes widened. "You mean we could potentially control their fleet?" Chen nodded excitedly. "If we can crack the code, yes, it could turn the tide of the war before it even begins." Meanwhile, alien ships had appeared over major cities worldwide. They hovered ominously, a constant reminder of the threat looming over humanity. But instead of fear, their presence now sparked defiance. In New York, a group of street artists painted a massive mural on the side of a building. It showed Sarah's face, surrounded by stars, with the words "Remember Sarah" emblazoned below. Similar memorials appeared in cities across the globe. Sarah Johnson, once an ordinary college student, had become a symbol of humanity's resistance. As night fell, the selection process in the underground cavern concluded. A young woman named Aisha, a nurse from Sudan, had been chosen. Her calm demeanor and selfless history made her the ideal candidate. Aisha stood before the ancient fleet, her head held high. "I do this for all of us," she said, her voice unwavering. "For Sarah, for every human who has ever lived, and for all who will come after." General Rodriguez nodded solemnly. "Your sacrifice will not be forgotten, Aisha. You will live on in the hearts of every person on this planet." As they prepared for the activation ritual, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Rodriguez rushed to a communication panel. "What's happening?" she demanded. A frantic voice replied. "General, the aliens are on the move. They're attacking cities all over the world." Rodriguez's face hardened. "Then we're out of time. We need to activate the fleet now." As chaos erupted on the surface, deep underground, humanity prepared to unveil its secret weapon. The fate of the world now rested on the shoulders of a brave young woman and a fleet of ships built by long-gone ancestors. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. Chaos reigned on the surface as alien ships rained destruction upon Earth's cities. In New York, the Statue of Liberty crumbled under a barrage of energy beams. In Tokyo, skyscrapers toppled like dominoes. In Rio de Janeiro, the Christ the Redeemer statue stood defiant amidst the flames engulfing the city. Deep underground, in the cavern of the ancient fleet, a different kind of chaos unfolded. Scientists and military personnel rushed about, preparing for the activation ritual that would bring humanity's last hope to life. Aisha, the chosen volunteer, stood calmly in the center of it all. She watched as Dr. Chen and her team made final adjustments to the alien device they had found in Millbrook. "Are you sure you want to do this?" General Rodriguez asked Aisha, her voice gentle despite the urgency of the situation. Aisha nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," she said. "If my death can save billions, then it's a price I'm willing to pay." Rodriguez squeezed Aisha's shoulder, then turned to Dr. Chen. "Are we ready?" Chen looked up from her work, her face streaked with sweat and grime. "As ready as we'll ever be. The alien device is integrated into the system. If this works, we'll not only activate our fleet, but also gain partial control over theirs." "And if it doesn't work?" Rodriguez asked. Chen's face grew grim. "Then we lose Aisha and our last chance at victory." Rodriguez nodded, then turned to address the room. "Everyone, take your positions. We're about to make history." As the team scrambled to their stations, Mike, Sarah's friend, approached Aisha. He had been selected as part of the first wave of pilots for the ancient fleet. "I just wanted to say," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "what you're doing, it's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Sarah would be proud." Aisha smiled softly. "Thank you, Mike. Make sure you give those aliens hell for her, okay?" Mike nodded, his jaw set with determination. "Count on it." Above ground, the situation was growing dire. In Millbrook, Tom and Colonel Harper led a group of civilians through the ruins of the town, desperately trying to reach an evacuation point. "Look out!" Tom yelled as an alien fighter swooped low overhead. The group ducked behind a collapsed wall, narrowly avoiding a blast that scorched the ground where they had been standing. "We're not going to make it," a woman cried, clutching her child close. Harper's eyes blazed with determination. "Yes, we are. Our people are about to turn this war around. We just need to hold on a little longer." Back in the underground cavern, the activation ritual began. Aisha stood on a platform surrounded by the sleek, silver ships of the ancient fleet. The alien device pulsed with an eerie blue light, connected to a complex array of equipment. Dr. Chen's voice echoed through the chamber, initiating power-up sequence in 3, 2, 1. Aisha closed her eyes as energy began to flow through her body. She thought of her family, her friends, of Sarah Johnson, whom she had never met, but whose death had brought them to this moment. She thought of Earth and all its beauty, all its flaws, all its potential. "I'm ready," she whispered. A blinding light filled the cavern. Aisha's body arched as pure energy coursed through her. For a moment, she felt connected to everything. The ancient ships, the alien device, even the stars themselves. Then, suddenly, it was over. Aisha's body crumpled to the ground, lifeless. But around her, the ancient fleet hummed to life. Lights flickered on across the massive ships, engines roared, and weapons systems came online. General Rodriguez rushed to check on Dr. Chen. "Did it work? Do we have control?" Chen's fingers flew across her keyboard, her eyes wide with excitement. "It worked. We have full control of our fleet, and yes, we've tapped into the alien fleet's systems. We can't control them entirely, but we can disrupt their communications and navigation." A cheer went up throughout the cavern. For the first time since the invasion began, hope blossomed in the hearts of those present. Rodriguez turned to the pilots waiting nervously by their ships. "All right, people, this is it. The sacrifices of Sarah and Aisha have given us this chance. Now it's our turn to fight. For Earth. The pilots echoed her cry, for Earth, as they rushed to their ships. As the ancient fleet prepared to launch, Rodriguez looked at Aisha's still form. "Thank you," she whispered. "We won't let your sacrifice be in vain." Outside, the alien ships continued their relentless attack, unaware that the tide of war was about to turn. Humanity's secret weapon was awake, and the real battle for Earth was about to begin. The ground shook as the ancient fleet launched from its underground hangar. Massive doors slid open in a remote desert, and gleaming silver ships shot into the sky. People around the world watched in awe as humanity's secret weapon joined the battle. Mike sat in the cockpit of his ship, heart racing. The controls lit up around him, responding to his thoughts as much as his touch. "This is for you, Stora," he whispered as he led the first wave into the fight. In New York, people cheered as the alien ships attacking the city suddenly veered off course, their formations breaking apart. Dr. Chen's hack was working, disrupting the invaders' communication and navigation systems. Tom and Colonel Harper, still leading survivors in Millbrook, stared in amazement as a squadron of Earth's ships roared overhead, engaging the alien fighters that had been terrorizing them. "Would you look at that?" Tom breathed, a smile breaking across his tired face. Harper grinned back. "Told you our people would turn this around. Now let's get these civilians to safety." High above the Earth, the space battle raged. The ancient fleet proved to be more than a match for the alien ships. Energy weapons flashed, lighting up the sky like a violent lightning storm. In the command center, General Rodriguez coordinated the global defense. Screens showed battles unfolding in every corner of the world. "Push them back," she ordered. "Don't let them regroup." Mike's squadron dove through the clouds above London, chasing a group of alien ships. His mind melded with his craft, making split-second decisions that would have been impossible for a human pilot in a conventional plane. "Watch your six, Mike," his wingman called out as an alien fighter dropped in behind him. Mike grinned, pulling his ship into an impossible turn. "Not today," he said, looping behind the alien and blasting it out of the sky. But the aliens weren't giving up easily. Their mothership, a behemoth that dwarfed even the largest of Earth's vessels, moved into position above the Atlantic Ocean. "General," Dr. Chen called out, her face pale, "we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the alien mothership. I think they're preparing to use some kind of super weapon." Rodriguez's jaw clenched. "Can we stop it?" Chen shook her head. "Not from here. Someone would need to get inside and shut it down manually." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Mike," she called over the comm, "we need you and your squad for a special mission. It's going to be dangerous." "We're ready, General," Mike replied without hesitation. "What do you need?" As Rodriguez explained the plan, Mike felt a mix of fear and determination. This could be a suicide mission, but if they didn't stop that superweapon, Earth was doomed. His squad approached the mothership, dodging intense fire from its defenses. "Remember," Mike called to his team, "we only get one shot at this. For Sarah, for Aisha, for Earth." They fired their weapons at a specific point on the mothership's hull, creating a small breach. One by one, they flew their ships into the opening, transforming them into sleek, armored suits as they entered the alien vessel. Inside, they faced a nightmare of twisting corridors and hostile aliens. They fought their way through, following Dr. Chen's directions to the ship's power core. "There it is," Mike shouted as they entered a massive chamber. In the center, a pulsing orb of energy grew larger by the second. As his team engaged the alien defenders, Mike raced towards the core. He could feel the heat even through his suit as he approached. Following Chen's instructions, he began the process of overloading the weapon. Alarms blared throughout the mothership. "Mike, you need to get out of there now." Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. "That thing's about to blow." "Just a few more seconds," Mike grunted, finishing the sequence. "Done. Everyone out. Now, they ran for their lives, alien warriors in hot pursuit. They'd reached their entry point just as the first explosions rocked the ship. "Go, go, go," Mike yelled, making sure his team got out before him. As he prepared to jump, a piece of debris struck him, sending him sprawling. Through the breach, he could see Earth, beautiful and blue. As the ship began to break apart around him, Mike closed his eyes. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he whispered. "I tried." Suddenly, he felt someone grab him. His wingman had come back for him. Together, they leaped from the disintegrating mothership, just as it exploded in a spectacular blast that lit up the sky. On Earth, people watched in awe as the alien mothership was destroyed. A cheer went up around the world as the remaining alien ships, now leaderless and confused, began to retreat. In the command center, Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "We did it," she said softly. "We actually did it." The battle was won, but the war wasn't over yet. As Earth celebrated its first victory, the ancient fleet prepared to take the fight to the stars. Humanity had proven its worth, and now it was ready to claim its place in the galaxy. The sun rose on a changed Earth. Cities lay in ruins, but hope blossomed in the hearts of survivors. The alien threat had been pushed back, but humanity knew this was just the beginning. In New York, Mike stood before the giant mural of Sarah, his injuries still healing. He touched the painted face of his friend, tears in his eyes. "We did it, Sarah. We won the first battle." A hand rested on his shoulder. It was Lisa, Sarah's mother. "She would be proud of you," Lisa said, her voice thick with emotion. "Of all of us." Meanwhile, in the underground base, General Rodriguez and Dr. Chen worked tirelessly. The ancient fleet had returned, carrying with it a wealth of information from the destroyed alien mothership. "It's incredible," Dr. Chen said, her eyes wide with excitement. "Their technology, their star maps. We've leaped forward centuries in our understanding of the universe." Rodriguez nodded, her face serious. "And we'll need every bit of it. This war isn't over." Across the globe, rebuilding efforts began. The world was united as never before, with countries sharing resources and technology. The secret of the ancient fleet was now common knowledge, a symbol of humanity's hidden strength. In Millbrook, Tom and Colonel Harper oversaw the construction of a memorial. It was dedicated not just to Sarah, but to all who had fallen in the alien attack. The small town had become a symbol of human resilience. "Do you think they'll come back?" Tom asked, watching as workers placed the final stone. Harper's eyes turned to the sky. "I'm sure of it, but this time, we'll be ready." Months passed. Earth's cities rose from the ashes, stronger and more advanced than before. The ancient fleet's technology was incorporated into everyday life, from healing the injured to powering homes with clean energy. In orbit, a new space station took shape. It was humanity's first true defense platform, built with a combination of Earth and alien technology. Mike, now a respected commander, oversaw its construction. "Commander," a young officer approached him. "We're picking up a signal. It's from deep space." Mike's heart raced as he followed the officer to the command center. On the main screen, a message played. It wasn't from the aliens they had fought. It was from someone else. "People of Earth," the message began, the words translated by their advanced computers. "We have witnessed your victory against the Zarkesh invaders. You have proven yourselves worthy. We extend an invitation to join the Galactic Council." The room erupted in excited chatter. Mike silenced them with a raised hand. "There's more," he said. The message continued. "We must also offer our deepest apologies. The activation of your ancient fleet was a test, one we deeply regret. The human known as Sarah Johnson is alive. Her sacrifice was an illusion, meant to push humanity to its limits. We underestimated the pain this would cause, and we humbly ask for forgiveness." Shock rippled through the station. Mike felt his knees go weak. Sarah was alive. It had all been a test. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. In New York, Lisa collapsed into tears of joy. In Millbrook, Tom and Harper hugged, laughing and crying at the same time. In the underground base, Rodriguez and Chen looked at each other in disbelief. The final part of the message played. If you choose to accept, Sarah Johnson will be returned to you, along with the knowledge and technology to take your rightful place among the stars. We await your response. As the message ended, a stunned silence fell over Earth. Joy at Sarah's survival mingled with anger at the deception and uncertainty about the future. In the space station, Mike stared out at the stars. Earth had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. They had grown, adapted, and become something more than they were. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. He pressed a button on the console. "General Rodriguez, Dr. Chen," he said, his voice steady. "I think it's time we introduced ourselves to the galaxy." As the sun set on this new day, Earth stood at the threshold of a grand adventure. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now beckoned. Humanity, born from the crucible of a false war, was ready to take its first steps into a larger universe. Sarah's story, which had begun in tragedy, had led to humanity's rebirth. And now it would continue among the stars.